Hello, my name is Sadaf. I'm a leading admissions consultant and I'm an Insead alum. And for the last 5+ years, I have been interviewing candidates for Insead Business School in London. Today, I'm going to speak to you about my 5 top tips for the Insead interview. My first tip, and this is vital for all interviews, but I think it's so important that I wanted to make it my first tip today, is to make sure you prepare your key messages. This is a criteria for the business school that you want to show you meet with specific examples from your background. For example, Insead talks about being the business school for the world, and that tells you that having a global perspective is very important to them. So you must come prepared with an example showing how you are someone who has a global perspective. Similarly, on the website, you will see them talk about being a force for good. Have a think about how you have been or are planning to be someone who has a positive impact in the world, and make sure you have these examples prepared. And if you leave the interview without giving your 3 to 5 key messages, it means you probably haven't done as good a job as you should have. So my second tip for you today is about how you should structure each answer. I advise using CAR methodology, where the C stands for context, the A stands for action, which is what you have done specifically, because I want you to be the hero of every story, and R stands for the results. So if you ask me what makes you a good admissions consultant, I would say, so if you ask me what makes you a good admissions consultant, I would say, as a leading admissions consultant in the UK, so the context, I have worked with students over the last 20 years on their university admissions and career advice, some of my actions, and I make sure I work with only a select number of students at a time so I can really help them, and then straight to a tangible result. This is why I have a 98% success rate in helping candidates get into their top choice of university. Make it simple, make it clear, and done. You don't need to keep talking till they ask you the next question. My third tip for you is to research the interviewer. Now, Insead interviews are particular in that they have alumni conducting the interviews. And it is always a good idea to Google the interviewer. Nowadays, I really find myself in an interview where the candidate has not already looked me up on LinkedIn. And it's a really good idea to do so, because at the end of the day, an interview is a human-to-human connection opportunity. And so if you have looked up the profile of an alumni, and they probably would have 5, 10, 20 years of interesting experience, you can weave that into your interview to create that connection with the person. So some candidates in the past have asked me, for instance, I see you have work experience in Dubai. I'm really interested in being in the Abu Dhabi campus for the executive MBA at Insead. Or they've noticed and said, I've seen you started companies like Leadearly and Leadearly. I have entrepreneurial ambitions. What do you think about X or Y? Now, a flip side for having an alumni as your interviewer, and there's always a flip side to everything, is that compared to admissions people who tend to follow the script a bit better, alumni interviews can ask you any type of question. And the chances are that even though they are very kind and very nice people, all of them, they will notice things on your CV or your application and ask you about them. If you have a gap in your CV, be prepared to talk about it. If you have moved jobs after a short period of time, you should be able to answer why you did that. And they will directly ask you about your biggest failure or a big weakness that you have. And these are questions that can be quite tricky to answer for most people if you haven't thought about it in advance. But if you do the work and you come up with a clear answer and you have a plan of action that you've already done to remedy that, then hopefully you can even use that opportunity to not just overcome the situation, but use it as an opportunity to really sell yourself in the skills that you have developed in that process. And my 5th tip for you today would be to make sure the question you ask at the end of your interview is a specific and genuine one. Most often, candidates come to the end of the interview and they seem to ask either a very big open-ended question. I've been asked, for instance, tell me about your career and why you made changes from one company to the other, or how you were able to change your career. I have to be honest, we have to fill out a very long form at the end of the interview that's quite time consuming, and at the end of our conversation, it's probably not a good time to ask me an interview question myself. But alumni interviews are a great opportunity to ask about their background, but make it something specifically about their career that you did that you genuinely wanted to understand more about, or maybe something during their Insead interview. But make it sound like you do want to know the answer to that question and not just feel like you're done with your interview and you can relax. Most good interviewers fill out the form immediately after the interview, and they have to give their recommendation yes or no. And so it is a very good idea to make a positive, lasting impression at the end of your interview. And I'm going to give you a bonus tip because I love to undercommit and overdeliver. So make sure you do a mock interview. This is very important. You could do it with a friend. You could even take a video of yourself and listen back to it. Most people are surprised what they notice about themselves when they see themselves in a video versus the conversations that they're having in their head as they're planning for an interview. And if you can speak to a professional to do a mock interview, I would strongly advise it, because the chances are that if they've invited you for an interview, they like what they've read on that piece of paper, and they really want a confirmation that you are the person that you say you are. And any questions that they have, they want to address that. So this is the last stage really, and you want to make sure you make the most of that opportunity. But I want you to remember that it is a confirmation exercise, and as long as you've done the work towards it, I'm sure you will be well. So good luck. It's a great idea to do a mock interview, and if you would like to speak to somebody like myself or somebody else in our admissions team, do drop us a line and we will make sure that we give you targeted feedback that can help you address exactly the problem areas that might be standing in the way of your admission success. Good luck.